welcome again to my session. I don't know if I have to introduce myself again. I'm Elisa. I come from Germany, from Nuremberg. It's the capital of Lebkuchen. That's a gingerbread. And of Dreyenweckler, I told it in the Seablood session before, it's the small sausages. The prisoners were fed by the keyhole with the small sausages. And it's the food you have to taste if you come to Nuremberg once. I started in 2000 as a media designer. In 2008-9, I made marketing studies and got self-employed in 2009. So I'm now in my 10th year of self-employment. I wrote a Joomla book. It's in German, unfortunately. You have to learn German if you want to read it.
Thanks for that.
I'm not a developer. I'm still learning. I just know the basic stuff. And this will be the session, will also be about the basic stuff, and that you don't have to be afraid of knowing basic PHP things. I will tell you what custom fields are. I will show you which files you have to open and edit to manipulate the outputs of a custom field. Then I will show you quickly how you can create your own custom field. Without a developer knowledge, you will not be able to do this, but maybe you can use my skeleton and copy it and try to play with it. That's a little bit more advanced. But later on I will show you an example project that you will be able to do if you follow the slides afterwards. The slides will be provided on Twitter, and then you can try it out yourself. And then I will show you some links where you can know more about custom fields. And of course, we will have some time for questions afterwards. So I will tweet the slides. I don't know if I will make it today, but in the next days. So what are custom fields? Custom fields are input fields. You can show your editors and your contacts and user component. It's a Joomla core function, which was added in Joomla 3.7. And a field can have several parameters, several options. And the value the user puts in the field is stored in one database. The fields, they have views, and they use the value in various ways. So depending which field type you select, it will display the information different. A custom field looks basically like that. It's a text field, for example, and you get a separate tab in your content. If you don't assign it to a specific group, it will be in the Fields tab. That's the generic name for it. And now you have an article, and you can just put some more information in the custom field. And when you do it like that, it will be displayed in your content like that. You see here, where's my laser? I don't see it. It's too bright. Okay, you see above the breadcrumbs, text field example, my text. That's the default output of custom fields. So it's nothing very exciting, to be honest. It's not exciting.
Yeah.
So you have to do something with the values. That's
You style your content.
Yeah. For example, like I said before the session, I can style my content with it. I have this value somewhere stored, and I can use it somewhere on my website to do something with it. And I can do it in various ways. So I can create a view or a layout override, my component, and use this value to do something with it. I can also create a field plugin override, or create a media override, or create our own custom field plugin. to use the field value in your override, you have just the simple line of code you can copy out of the slides. You know your field ID. Your field ID is, for example, 21, or if it's your first field, it will be ID 1. And then you can use it in your article override to output this value. For example, it's possibly hard to read now. I used a value to define the background color of article. I have here, I had, in this example, I had a field in the user, user component, and the field was a color field. The user registers on the website, puts in a color, maybe his company color, and saves it. Now I have an article submission form for job applications or something, or job forms, and the user submits article, and the jobs are listed on the website. Now I want that the background of the page changes to the company color of the user who created this article, to his preferred color. So I use, I call the user object. Here in this example, I mapped the fields. This mapping is important if you don't want to use ID, but the alias of the field. Then I transform the value to RGB, and how to do that, I Googled it. Yeah, it's not in my head, it's Google.
How come you changed it to RGB rather than just using the text?
I Googled it.
No, but why?
Why I did it? Yes, because I did not only change the background of the site, but several elements on the page, like boxes, and then I used opacity values.
Okay.
That's why I transformed it to RGB, so I have RGBR, like this box is just 10% of the company color.
Okay, all right.
That's why I did that.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, and then I added the style declaration to this page, which is maybe not very performant, but as an example, how you can use values of fields. It doesn't have to be always a table of informations. You can be creative with it. The second possibility how to create overrides is to create a layout override of the field or the field container. So every field is displayed in a generic way, and you can copy the files and put it in your template. Here, for example, this is protostar. You can put it in this structure and override how the field or the field container is displayed. You can, for now it's like a definition list or something. You can just remove the definition list and make something completely different out of it. So that's the second way to override it. The same thing, like I just said, you can do component-wise. For example, you don't want to override the output of the field container for users or for context, just for content, and this is your structure to override it. I'm running through it because you will not remember it later anyway, so you can use the slides and see how the structure will be.
And watch the video again.
Yeah. And again. That's funny because when I was writing the book on custom fields was not finished still. I had a lot of bugs. I think I had I posted 120 issues or something. I did not count them because it was still in progress, and I wanted to write an example, actually the one with the CSS, and I take the values here, and something did not work, and then and then I had to zip all the time issues on GitHub. And what do I want to tell now? And now when I work with the fields, I read in my own book. How did I do that? So
Because you can, because you speak German.
yes, a bit at all. So yeah, and then there's a specialty also. It was improved in Joomla 3, I don't know, 8 or 9. I think it was 9, that you can select layouts in the field.
Yes, 9.
9, yeah. You can select in with which layout the field should be displayed. But before that, you could display the field in the article with this shortcut code and a comma and then the layout name.
Okay.
So it's not like an override, it's like an alternate layout if you know the difference.
If you see this, do this.
Yes. If you don't know the difference between override and alternate layout, I would tell you about that in the second part, in the second part of this session. Then you can also create an override of the fields plugin. There's a possibility to create also plugin overrides. So I took, for example, once I think it was the SQL core field, and override its output completely to fit the needs on my side. So if you follow this structure, you can override the whole plugin, or I mean the template of the plugin. There's something most people don't know. You can do media overrides in Joomla. So the calendar field can be overridden. The CSS of a calendar field can be overridden if you use this structure, and then it looks completely different. You can change the colors. You don't have the white calendar with the, I think, blue button. You can make it fit to your website. That's the way to override the style. And you can do it basically with every core stuff that is in the media folder. Also, if you want to override the Bootstraps JS file, you just follow a specific structure and put it in your JS folder, media, and put in there in the JUI folder the Bootstrap file, and then the Bootstrap file that is delivered by Joomla will be overridden. And maybe if you want to hack that no Bootstrap stuff is loaded, you could also add empty file, or a better way is to unset the script then completely. Why would I create our own custom field plugin? Because you have the package, you can install it on another website. You don't have. If you reuse something on several websites, you don't have to think about which of the several options that I use to override this field. You just have the field itself and can use it on different websites.
Build it once, use it more.
Yeah, because if you do an override and a customer wants a change, you have to, how did I do that? Or go in this file and change this and that causes confusion. What could you do if you do our own custom field? Actually everything, because if you have a text field, you can say to the user, put in your YouTube code, and then you define a layout that outputs a video container. So it's just a text field. You don't need anything more. It's about the output, not about the input. Or you can do a PDF display. There are several scripts for displaying PDFs inside a web page, for example. Or display the weather, or different things you can display on the website. There's a field I made which shows what you can do with just one input. The field is available on GitHub, and this is the address. You can look it up later. And this field has an autocomplete field. I put in the first letters, and you see it gives me options to select a city. And that's basically also just a text field with some added script to it. yeah, I will show a live demo in a moment. This is the structure of a custom field. You have the manifest file, you have the template file, which is the second file on the list. Then you have parameters if you need them. You have a fields folder with specific fields you can create. You don't have to have a text field. You can use, you can create also a very custom field. Then you have the template folder, which is responsible for the output, and the language folder. Yeah. So the manifest file. Does everyone know what a manifest file is?
No.
Who know? No. Okay. A manifest file is for installing the application. Sorry, I'm still in the C+ session. No. The XML file is for installing the extension on the Joomla website. So in the manifest file, there's the name of the plugin, which files belong to the plugin. Do I have language files? Do I have any additional parameters? That are the contents of the manifest file. That's very well described in the docs. Yeah, you can add specific parameters, maybe something pre-filled of the field, different stuff. This is the link how to create a complete custom field, because you can just hang in your functions into existing fields, like the existing text field, the existing color field, and so on, or create a complete custom field. I will show at the end of the session if we have time. How did I create this travel field with the autocomplete? I just Googled. Yeah, and there was a Golia, and there was a tutorial how to implement the autocomplete on a text field. It's basically extending a JForm text field, adding a special class to the field, and load a JavaScript file. That's everything I need to do to display this autocomplete. I will skip this because that goes too deep into development. But if you're a developer, you will be able to look into the slide and do something with it. So in the example, I had the user as saved as a value and is returned in the front end like that. So I say if the value is not empty, then please display the field value. So if the user types in London, it displays London on the website. So this is the input, London, and this is the output. And that's boring. Yeah. Well, I did nothing way more than the Joomla core fields are doing. I just had an enhanced input with the autocomplete, but the output is quite boring. So I'll show you what I did with some layouts. I have to sync the screens, one moment. Here, sorry. Okay. So I had the field. I have debug on. One moment. I remove this. So here are the fields. I created a field group, which is called travel informations, just to not have a tab that is called fields.
Right.
Then I created a field called city, and this field is assigned to the category destinations and to the field group travel informations. And then I added some parameters in this XML file I was talking about, and have different options. I have a Flickr gallery template in there. I have a weather template in there, or a map template, or just the address. The address is just the output like you saw it now. And these are different outputs that are possible to do with this field value. If I go into the content, I have here the new article temper. You have here temper, intro text says hello, and I have here the tab travel information.
Okay.
That is my field group.
All right.
And here's my city field. And it says, where are we going? So I say temper, save and close it. And here I have the list of cities. I showed this example already, or not, depends. It's a simple category list. And now you see on the temper article that I have an OpenStreetMap, I have a weather forecast, I have a Flickr gallery, and that's all made just with this single value. So different APIs, I checked out how to use them. And for Flickr, I said I want to have the most interesting pictures from the city you have on Flickr. There's another API that provides me weather information from a city. OpenStreetMap shows me a part of the city map. And that's all done just with one value. So I want to show you the possibilities you have to do with just one information. We have the Flickr gallery, forecast, map, just with this one value. If you're interested to look into it, how I solved it, just go on GitHub, fork it or download it, test it. Maybe you have another idea what we can do with this value. This field is not for production use, it's just to show the possibilities. And can be surely improved from the code. So I told you I'm not a developer, I just play around with it. Yeah, we come to the second part of my session already. I want to ask you if you know extension which shows a timetable. You know any extension? I want a nice overview, something like this. Is there anything on the extension directory?
Maybe G-Calendar or something like that, I don't use that.
No?
I use events.
Do you think they can display
I don't know that it does display.
No, there was one old one.
Laura?
I don't know.
Laura, before you search for it, I can tell you can do it with Joomla. And we would do it in below, I think in below 30 minutes. Okay?
Yes.
Let's see. So we do our override. Our base is this Gantt diagram. Is it called in English like that? Yeah.
Yep.
I found that on CodePen. Do you know CodePen?
Ah, yes.
Does someone not know CodePen? Okay. So CodePen looks like that. Some music. So CodePen looks like that. It's too bad my pointer doesn't work. So it's a website where you can find code. People can put just things on it that they play with, or already ready to use code. You have extended search. You can say, I want to create a Gantt diagram, Gantt, and then you have maybe a result like this and can see how the HTML structure is, how does the CSS look like, and is there any JavaScript to add. You have at the top the HTML and below the demo how it looks like. You see there is HTML code and CSS, there is no JavaScript, and that's our base we will use now for our override. Let's look at the HTML. there's a wrapper with a headline and an intro text. Then we have some div containers and spans with the names of the months. Afterwards, there are some spans that you see there's a marker in there that are the spans that define the columns. And yeah, that's what I said. And then below there comes a row with the name of the event, or here's person names. And there's an unordered list with some styling in it that describes how long the time entry will be, which color does it have, and so on. So this is the article title, I would say. And for this entry, we could use custom fields. We have a value from, a value to, we have a color value we need. We need to know if it's striped or not. You don't see it on this screen, but there's a class if it's striped or not. And we need a text area field for the description of the timeline. So this is the second row out of the code example. It doesn't look very different. The only difference is that there's a class, empty, describes that there's no time entry at all in there. Then there is a third row. It looks like the first one again. Another row with 3 time entries in it. And because it's 3 time entries, I would say we could use it, could solve it with a repeatable custom field. So you can add more time entries in one article at once. So conclusion is, what do we need? A shopping list as category title, category description for the headline about the timetable. And we need articles with a title and a repeatable custom field with from, to, color. We need to use just hexacode because for now we cannot add the color field, repeatable fields, but maybe in future. Then we need a field for the CSS class and the text area. We need to know what's the current month, because if you look at, you see in the timetable the current month is marked. And if we have a multi-language site, it would be great to have the short names of all months in all languages. So let's do it. We create first a category, name it my timetable, and write some text in it. And then we create an article with a title, for example, my name. And we need a custom field. For that, we create a field group first. Then we have the timetable entries. So create a field group. Then we need to create fields. I create a custom field of the type repeatable. I assign it to the category my timetable. So it's just displayed in this category. And I assign it to the field group timetable entries. And then we have from value in the repeatable field. We have the to value of the type number. We have the color of the type text, because as I said, the field is unfortunately not included in the repeatable field, but maybe soon. Then we have a class. I would say it's also text field, and a text area field with text that are repeatable fields. And in the field options, I say do not automatically display this field, because if I say display it automatically, it will be the values will be displayed at the top of the article in this special layout I showed you in the beginning, the boring one. So don't display it. So now I have the fields. I go back into my article I just created. and I add the values. And here I show you the code. It says grid column 2, 5. That means that this timetable entry goes from month 2 to month 5. And I just assign the values in there. Then the background color comes from the color field. The class comes from the class field. And the content comes from the text area field. So I put this out, and that's how my article looks like. I do a second article with just one field entry, and a third one which is completely empty. And now I create a menu item as a category block. And if I display that, oh, that's actually a list, sorry. But if I display that, it looks like that. So none of my custom fields are there, and it doesn't look like a timetable at all. So now I can create an override. And there's a simple option in Joomla to create overrides. I do not do that because I work over PHP most often, but I want to show you the option how to do it easy. You go into your template. For example, here, Protostar. You click on the template name, and there's a tab, Create Overrides. And here you have a view of things that you can override. And if you click on it, Joomla will create the override file in the right structure for you. For example, if I want to do an override for content, what I want to do now, I click here on category, and it creates the blog PHP file on the right structure for me. That's also wrong marked. I meant the second item, sorry. So it creates the file for me. What I need to do also is to add the CSS of the code pen into my template. I will do it now for this example in the user CSS file of the Protostar. Of course, you should add it in the right structure in your template, but just to demonstrate, I would use it in the user CSS file. Here in CodePen, you have the second panel with the CSS, but beware that it could be SCSS. And there's at the right hand side of this panel a button to show the compilation of the CSS. Just switch it, and then you can copy the CSS which is already compiled. Or of course you can use the SCSS if you have a SCSS structure in your template. So I copy this and put it in this S, so I have already the code base for it. And now I will tell you something about PHP basics. Who of you does not write any PHP? Great, okay. Really, don't be afraid. That's almost everything I know, what I'm telling you about now. And it's not hard. It takes some days to understand them, but if you know that, you can use Joomla to the maximum. Really, you don't need extensions for showing a timetable like that. I will tell you something about echo. Variables, arrays, if, for each, for, else, and partly about Joomla classes and methods. Doesn't sound look very complicated, does it? To output a string, you just write the PHP embraces. That's always just before PHP code and afterwards. Question mark PHP, that's beginning. Question mark and closing is the end. And in between, I just write now echo hello. What does this do? It outputs a string with the value. So if I just play with it, have a local installation or whatever, open your override and just write in your override echo hello. Like that. What will happen? My timetable, it says hello. Okay. I can have variables. A variable is something I can reuse more often. I can say test, $test, that's the name for variable. I can say this is my text, and if I say later echo test, it will say my text. Easy?
Yes.
Yes? Great. That's not much you have to know about echo. You can mix a string and a variable. You do it like that. You have a variable, JoomlaDay is Florida, and I echo hi. That was like the first example. I connect it with a dot and add the variable, and that's Florida. Okay? That's almost the most important thing we need in Joomla overrides are if conditions. If this, then that. So if your goal, that's our variable, our goal is to learn something. Our if condition is, if your goal is to learn something, echo, you will learn something. What will be the sentence on in our override now?
You learn something.
You learn something. If I would write into the goal, blah, blah, blah,
Say, blah, blah, blah.
is there output then?
No.
Good. You got it. So, if our goal is Bazinga, and here the if condition says our goal is not to learn something, the echo is you won't learn something. What does our override say now on the front end? Right, because the goal is Bazinga. So the condition correct. If our goal is not,
To learn.
then you won't learn. Next, go learn. If not empty, go. Echo, you have a goal. What does our override say? Richard? Yeah. It could be but literally everything in this variable. If there's party on, there's a goal. The condition meets my expectations. So I have this output. I can say it the other way around. My goal is to learn. If the goal is empty, then the echo is you have no goal. So what is the output on the website now? Is there output? There is no output, yes, because this condition is not met. Yeah?
Right, okay.
Okay. So I jump back to our example with the timetable. I have the category block and I set up 99 leading items just to show everything, just 99 leading items. Back to a blog.php file we want to overwrite. There's a text in it. And now you can read the text now that I showed you something about if. If not empty this lead items, then container with this class. There's a FOREACH I will tell you about afterwards. So if this condition is met, then do something. I will empty now everything what's inside this if condition. I just remove everything. And, oops. If not empty this lead items, then display this text. I don't have to write it all the time in PHP. I just close the bracket after the condition, write HTML in between, and afterwards I close this end if. So. And now my names are gone. and the sentence is here. If lead items is not empty, then you see this text. Are you still on board, or did I lose anyone?
I'm lost. But
We-
I'm okay.
okay.
Those are good.
Really?
Well, I'm lost, but I'm really a beginner.
Where did I lost you?
In the beginning.
I'm sorry for that.
Maybe go back just one slide and then show it again.
No, I see.
Okay. So if I set up the lead items,
Right.
yeah, and the condition meets, they are not empty because I created the articles.
Right.
They are there.
Right.
They exist, and I have them. So if they are not empty, then display please this text.
Right.
It's display. This sentence, because I want to know what are these lead items. I have the if condition, and I echo this lead items. I want to know what's in there. Just testing. I'm just playing around. Oh, array. What's an array? An array is basically a variable which stores different kind of data. So I don't have just one leading item, I have several leading items that are stored in this array. And for example, I have a variable, and the array is Joomla, Drupal, WordPress. And I can output this array by saying I want to output the first value of this array. You see I set 0, because an array counts from 0 on. Joomla is the first value, so I can echo the first variable with 0, and it would display Joomla in this case. They are also called I don't know the pronunciation, associative arrays. So I don't have numbers, but I can say best CMS Joomla, another CMS Drupal, blog system WordPress, and then I echo something like that. So before it was the 0, and now here best CMS Joomla in this case. And to know what's inside of such an array, I have always this trick. There's a method to write print r, and then embraces the variable of the array. Do something like that. That's my power tool, print r everything. What's in this? And it looks like that. I put this in the override, and I have this on my front end. The ID of the article is 3, the title is John Doe. It was modified here. I said every data which is stored in this article is in this variable. And later on, if you scroll down, you have somewhere raw value. Timetable entry is from 1 to 2, the color, and hello. That's every value we set. And here you see that the repeatable field values are stored in a so-called JSON value. That you see that by the curly braces. I want to, back to PHP basics. Yes, sorry?
When it shows everything for the field values, it's using the alias of the field in the hard brackets. So
Yes, no, and the repeatable field, this from, to, color, and text is the title of the,
it uses the title here.
because if you have umlauts in Germany, it's a bit broken, but the best thing is to use alias-like values for the titles so you can work with them better. And there's a function in PHP. You have the variable, it's stored in an array, and if you say for each variable system and put echo in it, you can output every value which is stored in this array. It's a bit more complicated. I can give you the advice. If you read about this for each and just try it in your override. You will understand how it works. It's really not so complicated. So we have the for each. And that's my block item. And inside of this block item, I call the field the item values. I have the title. And to output the title, I just write PHP echo this item title. That's the very first thing every one of you said you understood that. That's not hard to do that. And yeah, I deleted basically everything out of the code. I just displayed the title inside the for each that already exists in the block override. And here my name's back again. Now I'm copying the HTML structure which is already given in the code pen and just copy it into the block override, just the whole thing. Just the one thing is, one part is outside of the for each, the headline of the category, the intro text, the names of the months, and the marker. It's all outside the for each because it doesn't repeat every time. That's the
Your frame, sure.
the layout frame. Thank you. Yes. And then I have things that it's the article itself. So here at the top, I already replaced the John Doe by the item title. And it looks like that. I have now my override. You see every row is, but the names are changed already. I have the layout frame I used with the replaced names. Now we will add the values on the right side. So I have column 2 to 5, background color, and so on. The list items repeat. So what do I need here? I need the for each loop again on the repeatable field values. And to get them, sorry, but you have to know that just decode the JSON value of the field. And then you can get the values of inside the field in an array. I do, again, my power print R2. And now it looks like that. And please don't be confused about the Zeitstrahl-Eintrag timetable entry. I forgot to, no, I did not forget, but it's an old example. And that's the alias of the field I had before. I couldn't change the alias. Normally it says my timetable. So I have here all the values that are stored. And I do this for each, I told you before. So I have for each entries as entry, and I have my list item, and where the red values are, I just call the values from the fields. And I have my entries. Almost finished. That's the layout. It's not hard. You just had to know what's if, what's for each. Almost nothing more. Now, again, something with if conditions. When an entry is empty, the class should be empty. So I go again my override and say if empty entries, then echo Gendro empty. Here we are. It's red. Next step. So we need the current month. How do I get it? Ask Google. PHP get current month. And then I got on 1,000 pages that tell me it's so easy, echo date. And that was really easy. Now we need a for. It's I do something like a for each loop now, but I don't have an array I'm looping through. I just tell him to do a loop. We need 12 loops. So I say, you have just to remember how to do this for loop. I say month is 0, and until month is less than 12, please repeat this loop. You can say month is 1 equal 12. This loop says it goes 12 times. It will repeat a span 12 times. And inside of this for, I say, and if the month is equal the current month, again the if condition, expectation needs, please add the marker to it. Yeah? And now we have February. Next are the names of the months. If you have a multi-language site, you maybe want to. So, Jan, Feb, Mar. I go into language overrides from Joomla because I think so that might be something that could be in core months. I search on the right-hand side of the language Jan, and I find out there's January short, and it displays Jan. Means that Joomla core provides the names of the months out of the core, and Joomla is translated in 75 languages.
Yeah.
So I don't have to take this in my override. Joomla will do it for me. I could do it like that. It's a lot of text. Yeah. Echo J text, that's a Joomla method to display a language string. Or I can make it a bit more complicated and loop and then input the month and add the short, and yeah, that's maybe more complicated. Maybe none of those two is the best practice, but it's, yeah, you can do it like that. So we have the month name translated now in German, for example. Yeah, finished. That was our override. I hope I kept my promise, because I was showing you now and explaining with code examples how to use values. And if you learn that, how to use if, for each, for, I bet 20 minutes or less. Such a layout. With help of CodePen, of course. The code is there. And you find so much on CodePen you can reuse or other sources. Can someone time we have left?
It was supposed to be half an hour, no?
Is it over 3:45?
3:45.
Like 35 minutes.
How much?
Half hour?
Half hour? Okay, good. So instead of creating an override, in this case would be maybe layout. The difference between an alternate layout and an override is just the naming. With the override, you use the original name, and every view will be overridden by this new layout. So I cannot do anything on this website than timetables. And to create the alternate layout, I rename blog.php to timeline.php, for example. And then I need to copy the blog XML file into my template and rename it to timeline, for example. Remove maybe stop itself. I don't need any, what is it? We have the leading articles, then comes after the intro articles. Yeah, but from the category there's in the options leading articles, intro articles, columns, everything. You just can, because you don't need your timeline. Then you can create language overrides for it. And yeah, the result I just showed you can download at GitHub. This timetable thing, you can look into it. You can work with the slides. You can maybe for each practice it. These are few links about custom fields to Mark made a really good compilation about custom fields and in the Joomla community magazine. A lot of showcases and since we have some time left, I can show you some other custom fields and what you can do. But before I show you that, I'm open for questions. Yeah.
Do you have any live samples of where you've used them, like on the web, that you can show? Like a website that...
Afterwards, we can stop the video maybe later. I can show it.
Okay.
I can show you first some custom fields I've done also. Any other questions? Okay, so I'll show you some other custom fields. Oh, this already showed. A second. So there's, for example, icon link plugin field where you can oh, you don't see anything. So I'm on GitHub now, and you can see here icon link field. You can search for specific icon class, and it will display the font awesome icons that are available with this class.
Oh, neat.
And then maybe you can show a link with a specific icon. And it's also, it's called Bootstrap Icon Picker. It's a library. I just took it. I just copy paste like with the code pen example. Right for a block that shows isotope filters at the top, and it filters through tags or custom fields. That I can show you in real life. No, it's not in there. It's the override, but without filters. It takes just the values of the. Here on this website, I have the.
And that's just, and that's pulling using isotope?
Yes. It's just using the ready-to-go code and just the magic about overrides is that you have the values and you just take them and do something. You don't need extensions for everything. It's the same extension with custom fields filter. What else? I have a tutorial on my website. I call it a blog, but it's not worth calling it a blog because I don't do it regularly.
It was a good idea at the time though, right?
So I have 2 articles in there. One is a build your own custom field plugin.
That works, good.
And I describe here also this, and you see here at the top image carousel.
Right.
And what I'm doing here is just taking the fields list form field from Joomla, and I select a folder that's in the folder structure in the image folder, and it displays all inside this folder, the old carousel. I can show you this on the front end, but maybe later on the back end. It's a big industrial company. And they have, for example, here, they have several landing pages. And this is a block override. I can just skip to different sections. And this is the category text. This is the first item background, which I define in the custom field. It has here an icon in the background, which is a custom field. Background image, a read more button, which is linked to a completely different content. So it's not a read more like intro text. The second one, third one. So and this is the same override we used on the Turkish website, for example. Here I don't have any box at the top, but we have here another article. Here comes a carousel, which is defined in the custom fields, repeatable field. I say image, text, link, some mystery. It's a cplot module. It displays downloads from cplot.
Right.
Here again some downloads, contact informations, and this is just a Joomla override.
Cool.
It does not use. Yeah, I started to make a field which I'm not using yet, I think. Yeah, it's a custom field. I don't know if I finished it yet, but I think it works. So this field uses a code to retrieve a parameter from the URL, and it puts it in the subject field of a contact form. So use the Joomla core contact form, and you have, for example, I have to Google it all the time. Probably the one I already clicked before. Yes. So you have this page with an overview of, and you have here links to get more information about each one. In Germany, the e-commerce law is very strict, and this is a small customer, and I recommend it to not do an online shop because it's not worth for, I don't know. So we have a contact form, and when he clicks, maybe no, I did not implement it yet. So he clicks on ask about this hookah,
Right.
and I can add a parameter in this link and say what the customer wants to ask question about,
Right.
and input it into the subject field of the contact form.
Perfect.
That's another possibility how you can use custom fields. I have another custom field that shows you have to double click on content because of GDPR, cookie, no cookie, whatever. The address complete. Yeah. Another nice override, but it has nothing to do with custom field. Okay, that will not. I have it here. GitHub, I didn't know that. One second. It's also from, I think it was from CodePen. It was a display of images in this way, in this hexa way.
Oh,
And I thought, oh, I can do a block override. Yeah, and then it's also on GitHub. You hold these images, you have done to the articles. It shows the intro text and you're forwarded to the articles. I have something more to show maybe later. I have some ideas. Okay. So as said, I will share the slides later, and if you have any questions, I'm always happy to help. Don't be afraid of PHP and don't be afraid of me.
Can I ask a question about just regular custom user fields? I created a website where it's an e-commerce shop, and people who register on the site are assigned to user groups. Normal Joomla registration, I added custom user fields, for company type, blah, 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 6 or 8 different fields. So when you go to the registration page, it's your normal fields, your name, email, password, and all that stuff. And you scroll down more and you get all the additional fields. If there's a mistake, the form simply doesn't submit. It does not scroll up and say you have an error here, and this has happened. Which is why I was going to go in there and stump the whoever. I don't know who. I'm not sure what to do about it. You see what I'm saying? 'Cause they can't submit the form because there's nothing showing them that there's an error.
Okay, normally it should show. Okay.
But because the form is now longer than the window, all you do is hit the submit, it does nothing because they don't see the error above.
So
now, on anywhere else, RS forms and everybody else, it'll scroll to the error.
Yeah. So if you have such issues, which may be common in Joomla?
Yeah, I put the problem on Joomla's form, but I haven't heard any response.
Okay, if you use the Joomla form, there's a sentence that it's not to use for support or any. There's a sentence next to it because, and if they receive such emails, it's really hard to reply to all the support mails. That's why you should submit something like this to the issues.joomla.org, and then if more people have the problem, they can. I would not know how to fix this in the code, but we have so much talented developers in Joomla, and I think there must be a way to scroll up to the arrows, maybe.
Because every other contact form.
What is issues.joomla.org? That's to submit, right?
Yeah.
But isn't there there's a page where you can look, I think it's on Git, I forgot the URL, where he could possibly search for that issue.
You can search in issues too.
Right, so you can go here.
It's what's on here,
Right, yeah.
so it's the same things.
Required field, maybe. Search for this. Conflict. Contact. Accessibility. I found a bug about form fields validation. Yeah, you have to read that if it matches your problem or not. If not, you can submit an issue and then others will check it and see if you have to fix it, or someone else has to fix it outside Joomla, or if it can be fixed in core.
In the worst case scenario, I can use a third party.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. So maybe to user, you could maybe make an override of the form and write a sentence at the bottom and write there in the sentence, be sure if submission doesn't work, be sure you filled out all required fields. That's a little bit support. It's not nice. It's not. Do you? Yeah. No. So, thank you to our sponsors.
Thank you.